We begin today's journey into Stoicism with a powerful quote from Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This profound thought from one of the greatest Stoic philosophers nudges us towards a realm of self-control and fortitude. It emphasizes the essence of Stoicism, our ability to control and guide our thoughts rather than be swayed by external influences. The relevance of this quote in today's world is profound, especially when we find ourselves constantly exposed to manipulative tactics. The essence of Marcus Aurelius's teachings can be the compass that guides us through the murky waters of manipulation. It can illuminate our path, enhancing our understanding and empowering us to retain control over our thoughts, actions, and reactions. With this in mind, let's delve deeper into Stoicism, understanding its principles and how they can help us avoid manipulation. The first lesson in Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. In the grand tapestry of life, there are threads we can manipulate and others we simply cannot. This is the essence of the dichotomy of control. It's a concept that encourages us to discern between what is in our power to change and what is not. Let's start by looking at what is within our control. Our thoughts, emotions, and actions are prime examples. We have the power to choose our reaction to events, to decide what we think and how we feel about a situation. We can choose to act or not to act, to speak or stay silent. These are all within our purview. On the flip side, there are things outside our control: the weather, the actions of others, the passage of time. These are all elements we cannot influence, no matter how much we might wish to. Trying to control these aspects is akin to trying to hold water in a sieve, a futile endeavor that only leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. So why is this concept crucial in avoiding manipulation? When we understand the dichotomy of control, we become less susceptible to the sway of external events and influences. If someone tries to manipulate us, we can recognize that their actions are outside our control. However, our response to their actions is within our control. We can choose not to be swayed, not to be drawn into their game. It's like standing in the eye of a storm. Around us, chaos may reign, but we remain calm, unmoved. We understand that the storm is not within our control, but our reaction to it is. We can choose to stay calm, to stay focused, to stay true to our path. This understanding does more than just shield us from manipulation. It empowers us, frees us from the chains of unnecessary worry and stress. It allows us to live more fully, more authentically, more serenely. Understanding and accepting the dichotomy of control is the first step to avoiding manipulation. The second lesson in Stoicism is objective representation. In the realm of Stoic philosophy, objective representation stands as a critical tool. But what does it mean, and how can it help us resist manipulation? Objective representation is the practice of seeing things as they are, stripped of emotion, bias, or personal perspective. It's about removing the colored glasses through which we often view the world and seeing things in their raw, unfiltered state. Imagine a scenario where a person presents you with a choice that seems too good to be true. They weave a story that stirs your emotions, tugs at your heartstrings, and makes the choice seem like the only logical option. But is it really? By applying the principle of objective representation, you challenge this narrative. You separate the facts from the emotions, the reality from the illusion. You ask yourself, what is the truth behind this choice? What are the facts independent of the emotional story that's been spun around them? Objective representation isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about being discerning. It's about understanding that emotions can cloud our judgment and lead us into manipulation. When we view things objectively, we can make choices based on truth, not on the emotional narratives that others might construct for us. This principle can be applied in any situation, from the personal to the professional. It's a tool that empowers us to make informed decisions, free from the influence of manipulation. To practice objective representation, start by questioning. Question the narratives that are presented to you. Question the emotions that they stir within you. And most importantly, question whether these emotions are clouding the truth. Remember, emotions aren't bad. They're a part of being human. but they can be manipulated. By viewing things objectively, we ensure that our decisions are based on truth, not on manipulation. So, the next time you're presented with a choice that stirs your emotions, pause, step back, view the situation objectively, and then make your decision. To see things objectively is to see them as they truly are, free from manipulation. The third Stoic lesson is mindfulness. In the bustling chaos of life, it is easy to get swept away by the currents of thoughts, emotions, and distractions. But, as Stoics, we learn the crucial art of mindfulness, of being present in the moment, of observing and understanding our thoughts and feelings without judgment. Mindfulness is like a shield. It protects us from the onslaught of external influences and manipulations. By being mindful, we become aware of our thoughts and emotions. We recognize when they are being influenced or manipulated. We can then choose to not react impulsively, but instead respond thoughtfully and intentionally. Imagine yourself in a quiet forest. You notice the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the fragrance of the earth. You are wholly present, not lost in thoughts of the past or future. This is mindfulness. Now apply this to your everyday life. Be the observer of your thoughts and emotions, just like you observed the forest. Notice when your thoughts are being swayed, when your emotions are being stirred. This awareness is your first step towards preventing manipulation. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength, dear listeners, is derived from mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we become grounded. We are not easily swayed by the winds of external influences. We remain rooted like a tree amidst a storm. We may bend, but we do not break. Furthermore, mindfulness enhances our understanding of ourselves. It helps us identify our values, our beliefs, our boundaries. When we know ourselves better, we are less susceptible to manipulation. We stay true to our essence, to our core. In conclusion, mindfulness is not just about being present. It's about being aware, being in control of our thoughts and emotions, and not allowing them to be manipulated by external factors. It's about being grounded, being resilient, being authentically us. Mindfulness allows us to remain grounded, present, and free from manipulation. Lesson 4 is self-awareness. This is a critical cornerstone in the Stoic philosophy that Marcus Aurelius so passionately espoused. To be self-aware is to have a clear perception of your personality, including strengths, weaknesses, thoughts, beliefs, motivations, and emotions. It is the ability to understand other people, how they perceive you, your attitude, and your responses to them in the moment. So, why is self-awareness so important in Stoicism? Well, the answer is as simple as it is profound. It is because self-awareness is the foundation of understanding. When you are self-aware, you can see where your thoughts and emotions are guiding you. It allows you to take a step back and evaluate the situation from a detached perspective. You can then make choices that are in line with your values, rather than being driven by immediate emotional responses. And how does this protect us from manipulation? When we are self-aware, we are less likely to be swayed by others' opinions and more likely to stand our ground. We can see the manipulator for what they are and choose not to play their game. We can choose not to react in anger or fear, but instead respond with calm, rational thought. Consider this. A manipulator thrives on your lack of self-awareness. They exploit your emotional triggers, your insecurities, your fears. But when you are self-aware, you can see these tactics for what they are. You can say to yourself, "I see what you're trying to do, but it won't work on me." Self-awareness also allows us to recognize when we are being manipulated by our own thoughts and emotions. It gives us the power to change our thought patterns, to choose different responses, to take control of our own minds. Remember, being self-aware is not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It is about recognizing when we are off track and having the courage to correct our course. It's about being true to ourselves, our values, our beliefs. It's about being authentically us in a world that often tries to mold us into something else. Being aware of oneself is a powerful shield against manipulation. It is a beacon of light in the darkness, guiding us to truth, authenticity, and freedom. The fifth Stoic lesson is emotional resilience. It's a term we've all heard, yet its depth and significance in our lives is often overlooked. Emotional resilience is akin to a ship's ability to weather the storm, remaining afloat despite the tumultuous waves and gusty winds. In Stoicism, it's the skill to maintain composure in the face of adversity, to keep our emotions in check when we are most susceptible to manipulation. The world around us is a constant swirl of events and emotions. We are bombarded by information, influenced by the opinions and actions of others, and are often led astray by our own emotions. These external factors can easily manipulate us, leading us to make decisions that may not be in our best interests. This is where emotional resilience comes into play. Emotional resilience is not about suppressing our emotions. Instead, it's about acknowledging them, understanding their origin, and then deciding if they serve us or not. It's about recognizing that our emotions are responses, not obligations. We can choose how to respond rather than being slaves to our feelings. In the realm of Stoicism, emotional resilience is developed by practicing self-control and mindfulness. It's about stepping back from the immediacy of an emotion, examining it with a rational mind, and then deciding on the appropriate response. This requires discipline and practice, but the reward is a life less swayed by external circumstances and more driven by our own rational decisions. Remember, emotional resilience is not an innate trait, but a skill that can be honed and developed. Like a muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. By developing emotional resilience, we can become less reactive and more proactive in our responses, less likely to be manipulated by our emotions, and more likely to act in line with our values and goals. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This strength is emotional resilience, the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and a powerful tool in avoiding manipulation. Emotional resilience is our armor against manipulation. Scene script, Lesson 6 is acceptance. In the realm of Stoicism, acceptance is not merely a word, but a philosophy. It's a guiding principle that encourages us to embrace the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. This is not about passivity or resignation, but rather a conscious choice to acknowledge reality, with all its ups and downs, and to navigate through life with grace and serenity. Manipulators often exploit our resistance to reality. They prey on our desires for a different past or a better future, twisting these yearnings to their advantage. Acceptance, in contrast, robs them of this power. When we accept the reality of our circumstances, we eliminate the grounds on which manipulation can thrive. To illustrate, imagine you've made a mistake at work. A manipulator might try to exploit this situation, using your guilt or fear to control your actions. But if you accept your mistake, acknowledge it openly, and take steps to rectify it, there's nothing left for the manipulator to use against you. Your acceptance of the situation has effectively disarmed them. Stoicism teaches us that acceptance is not about ignoring our feelings or suppressing our emotions. It's about understanding that life is full of imperfections, and that's okay. It's about recognizing that we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Acceptance also means understanding that we are not perfect, and neither are the people around us. We all have flaws, and that's okay. It's about acknowledging these flaws without judgment or self-loathing, and using this knowledge to make better decisions. In the end, acceptance is about embracing the full spectrum of human experience: the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's about finding peace in the present moment, regardless of what it holds. This sense of peace and acceptance can serve as a shield, protecting us from manipulation and helping us stay true to our values and beliefs. Acceptance is the key to understanding and resisting manipulation. The seventh Stoic lesson is detachment. Now, we're not talking about becoming a hermit in the wilderness, detached from society. No, quite the opposite. Stoic detachment is about understanding and accepting that there are things in our lives that we cannot control, and choosing not to allow our emotional well-being to be dictated by them. You see, manipulation thrives on our attachments. The more we cling to things, people, or outcomes, the more susceptible we become to manipulation. It's like being a puppet on strings with someone else holding the controls. Detachment is about cutting those strings, taking back control, and navigating life's journey with a sense of inner calm and independence. Imagine being in a tranquil lake, letting the waves come and go without trying to control them. That's what detachment feels like. It's not about avoiding feelings or experiences, but rather refraining from being swept away by them. When we practice detachment, we become like the lake, unperturbed by the waves of life's ups and downs. It's important to clarify that detachment isn't about indifference or apathy. It's not about not caring. It's about caring wisely. It's about understanding that while we can't control external events, we can control how we respond to them. It's about knowing that our worth and happiness are not tied to the external, but reside within us. Detachment is a powerful tool in the Stoics' arsenal. It helps us build resilience, maintain our composure, and stay true to ourselves, even in the face of manipulation. It frees us from the expectations and pressures of the outside world, gives us the space to breathe, to think clearly, and to make choices that align with our values and principles. So, how do we cultivate detachment? It starts with mindfulness, with paying attention to our thoughts and emotions, and noticing when we're becoming overly attached. It involves practicing acceptance, letting go of our need to control, and embracing the flow of life. And it requires courage, the courage to step back, to let go, and to trust in our capacity to navigate life's challenges. Detachment provides us with the clarity to avoid manipulation. It's a shield, a compass, and a guiding light, illuminating our path towards a life of authenticity, resilience, and freedom. Lesson 8 is the view from above. Let's delve into this thought-provoking concept. The view from above is a powerful Stoic technique that encourages us to mentally elevate ourselves above our usual perspective. It's as if we're looking down upon the earth from a great height, seeing our lives and everyone else's in the grand scheme of things. This exercise can provide us with a broader perspective, enabling us to understand our place in the world more clearly. When we're up close, the details of our lives often seem overwhelming. Every problem, every disappointment, every fear, they all appear so significant, so pressing. But when we take a step back, or rather a flight up, we can see that these issues are merely tiny specks in the grand canvas of life. Now you might wonder, how does this help us avoid manipulation? Well, manipulators often exploit our narrow focus, our tendency to view things from a ground-level perspective. They magnify our fears, amplify our desires, and distort our perception of reality. They make the insignificant seem significant, the trivial appear crucial. But when we adopt the view from above, we see things for what they truly are. We understand that our problems are not as severe as they seem, our fears not as terrifying, our desires not as urgent. This understanding can inoculate us against manipulation. We become less susceptible to the exaggeration of our worries or the inflation of our wants. Moreover, the view from above can also help us cultivate empathy, a potent antidote to manipulation. From this elevated viewpoint, we see that everyone is fighting their own battles, grappling with their own fears and desires. This realization can foster a sense of unity and compassion, making it harder for manipulators to exploit our vulnerabilities or pit us against each other. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, manipulated, or lost, try taking a moment to rise above. Look at your life and the world around you from a higher vantage point. It might just give you the clarity and strength you need to navigate your journey with wisdom and resilience. The view from above gives us perspective and helps us resist manipulation. The 9th Stoic lesson is negative visualization. This principle isn't as gloomy as it first appears. Negative visualization is a mental exercise that encourages us to contemplate potential negative outcomes. By doing so, we become more resilient, more prepared, and less prone to manipulation. Imagine you're about to make a significant investment. Now, instead of succumbing to the rosy promises of high returns, you visualize the possibility of the investment failing. This exercise doesn't mean you're pessimistic or that you expect failure. Instead, you're mentally preparing for a possible unfavorable outcome. This preparedness can protect you from manipulation by those who might exploit your fear of loss or your hope for quick gains. Negative visualization isn't confined to financial matters. It can be applied to any aspect of life. Picture a politician promising a utopia if you vote for them. Instead of getting swept up in the charisma and promises, you visualize the potential negative outcomes. You consider the possibility that the politician might not deliver on their promises, or that their policies may have unintended negative consequences. This mental exercise can help you resist manipulation by making you less susceptible to lofty promises and more critical of potential outcomes. This practice doesn't mean you should live in fear or expect the worst, far from it. It means you're mentally prepared for various outcomes, which in turn makes you more resilient. It allows you to navigate life with a clear mind, free from the distortions of fear or excessive optimism. It empowers you to make balanced decisions, which are less likely to be influenced by manipulation. Remember, Stoicism teaches us to control what we can and accept what we can't. Negative visualization is a tool that enables us to do just that. It helps us anticipate and prepare for potential outcomes, which we can control, while accepting the uncertainty that we can't. Negative visualization prepares us for manipulation and helps us resist it. It's a potent tool in our Stoic toolkit, one that fosters mental resilience and clear-headed decision-making. Lesson 10 is Amor Fati. Now, this might sound like a cryptic phrase, but it's a Latin term that means love of fate. It's a powerful concept that can fortify us against manipulation. The idea of Amor Fati is that we should not only accept, but love and embrace everything that happens in life, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. It's about seeing every event, every situation as a necessary part of our unique journey. Let's imagine for a moment you've had a rough day. You've faced setbacks, disappointments, perhaps even failure. Now, instead of dwelling on the negatives, you decide to love your fate. You look at these challenges as opportunities for growth, as stepping stones on your path. This perspective is liberating. It frees you from the shackles of regret, resentment, and self-pity. It allows you to be resilient in the face of adversity and to remain unfazed by the ups and downs of life. Now, how does this help in resisting manipulation? Well, manipulators exploit our fears, insecurities, and desires to bend us to their will. But when you love your fate, you become immune to such tactics. You don't fear failure or crave validation because you see every event as a necessary part of your journey. You become like a rock in a storm, unswayed by the wind and rain. No matter how persuasive the manipulator, they cannot steer you off your path because you've learned to love your fate, to see value in every twist and turn of life. Amor Fati is not about being passive or resigning ourselves to fate. It's about actively embracing life with all its unpredictability, seeing every event as an opportunity for growth and learning. It's about owning our life, our decisions, our destiny. Amor Fati is a shield, a bulwark against manipulation. It fosters a mindset of strength and resilience, empowering us to stand firm in the face of adversity and manipulation. Remember, in the grand tapestry of life, even the darkest threads have their purpose. Learn to love your fate, and you will become invincible against manipulation. Amor Fati teaches us to love our fate, making us resistant to manipulation. Scene script. Let's summarize what we've learned. In the realm of Stoicism, we're reminded of the dichotomy of control, the understanding that we can only control our reactions, not the actions of others. This wisdom shields us from manipulation by reinforcing our autonomy and resilience. We've also explored the concept of objective representation, which urges us to see things as they are, not as we perceive them to be. By stripping away our biases and preconceptions, we can better protect ourselves from those who would seek to distort our reality. Mindfulness, the third lesson, encourages us to live in the present, to be fully engaged in the here and now. This state of awareness prevents us from being swayed by past regrets or future anxieties, both of which can be exploited by manipulators. The fourth lesson, self-awareness, is our mirror reflecting our true selves. It helps us understand our strengths, weaknesses, and triggers, making us less vulnerable to manipulation. Emotional resilience, our fifth lesson, teaches us to navigate life's storms with grace. By cultivating this resilience, we become less susceptible to emotional blackmail and manipulation. The sixth lesson, acceptance, is the embodiment of serenity. By accepting the things we cannot change, we rob manipulators of their power to unsettle us. Detachment, the seventh lesson, frees us from the chains of desire and aversion, making us impervious to manipulative tactics that prey on these emotions. The view from above, our eighth lesson, offers perspective. It reminds us of our place in the grand scheme of things, making the manipulator's schemes seem trivial and insignificant. Negative visualization, the ninth lesson, prepares us for adversity. By envisioning potential hardships, we become less likely to be blindsided by manipulative tactics. Finally, Amor, Fati, or love of fate, teaches us to embrace whatever life throws our way, thus disarming any manipulator who might use our circumstances against us. Remember, Stoicism is a powerful tool in our arsenal against manipulation. Embrace these lessons and find your strength.